following announcement has been paid for by the Celtic World Order.
Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order. As always, is Steve O'Martin. Joined with me is the OG, my bearded brother. It's Paddy Boy. Paddy, title celebrations are over. How's the head, mate? You feeling all right?
Better now. Yesterday was a struggle. The wife told me not to get too bad, and as always, I got bad. Let's be honest. Sunday was a big struggle to even open my eyes, but worth it. Every single drink.
That's what it's all about. It's absolutely, it was a celebration, as we say. The weekend was what it would be. It would take care of itself. We wanted to win. We got a win. We weren't bothered about how it came around, but it was more about what was going down afterwards on the park. And as it says, after that, a wee day or two celebration, because now the focus quickly turns, because there's a double to be won at the weekend against the Rangers, and yet another Glasgow Derby. Massive. Can't wait, right up for it, and yourself, I would assume, as well.
Oh, aye. This will be the first one that's been shown in the cave. So all my friends will be getting an invite to the man cave for that one. I believe you'll be there.
I've been lucky enough. Someone contacted me, yes. So I will. I can't wait. But no, do you know what? It's the first cup final. It is the first cup final, let's face it, against Rangers as we know them now. But if you want to go into the politics, it's about 20 years, so it's absolutely massive. And it's, as we say, we're online for a surprise double. If I'd said that to you a couple of months back and you says we're going to go on and win a double, you would have bit my hand off for it, but you also might have called me a liar at some stage, would you have not?
Me? With my confidence?
Anybody? Oh,
never.
Come on.
Steve, come on. I said in the beginning to you, and I can go back and find this in the chat, I think when you were going through your wee negative stage, I say, Steve, I will put 50 quid down right now and I will tell you that Celtic will win the league. And you called me on it. And we didn't go ahead, obviously. But yeah, I was confident, quietly confident. Never. I'm always confident. But if you'd have told me we'd get the double, as long as we got the league, I was happy. The league for me was a be all and end all. But a cup double, yeah, I'll take that.
We'll take that, exactly. Well, before we crack on, just a wee quick bit of housekeeping. As always, if you're liking what you've seen here at Celtic World Order, make sure you do us a wee turn, help spread the word, get the community growing. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Every time these videos go out live, you will get notified and you'll never miss a beat. If you like it, get a wee thumbs up. If you want to help out more, just get a share. It just gets more eyes on us. It gets us recommended at the tail end of other Celtic content and helps grow our community. We're over 450 now strong. As we say, we're in about 7 weeks. So we are thankful to every single one of you that have taken the time to share us, to subscribe us. It goes a long way and it is not missed. We do appreciate every single person who's tuning in and helping us out here. We're also on X at CWPod 1888. And that is that. So, as we say, Paddy, there's a game. We're not going to do a traditional breakdown as such because it was a non-entity, wasn't it?
It was a game.
It was a game to nothing. But I came on here, I popped up, I done a wee quick 20 minutes before. I had everybody downstairs. If you were watching it, you got to hear my wee ma shouting, Stephen! And the dog barking when they was going in. I told them, there's beers in the fridge, just go and help yourself. But nah, people don't read those instructions. But anyway, I went downstairs. It was a cracking day had by all. And here, I think I get burnt alive sitting out the back. But I wouldn't have had it any other way. But the game, Paddy, when I done the wee pop-up, I mentioned and I looked at the lineups, and as you'd expect, look, we had a big, massive game around the corner. We done the right thing, didn't we? Wrapped up certain guys in cotton wool. We get a different three at the back. We had Ralston coming in when there was a slight knock there to Johnson, and then it was the unlikely centre pairing of Welsh, the Coatbridge Maldini, and back out the cold, it was Malik Narodsky. I had sat there and says at the start, in a game like that, and it's a huge crowd and it's a celebration day, if you can't get up for it and you can't put in a good performance about them, then there's maybe no hope for you. We also saw Palmer coming in getting a wee run out there, and Kuhn was back in, so we were really protecting all the key assets, were we not?
Right.
What was your thoughts on it for what it was?
I thought we struggled at the back. I thought the defensive pairing of Welsh and Narotsky should never, ever happen again. I thought that was horrible, to say the least. They got found out way too many times. Palmer, I've said my views on Palmer. He's cutting back all the time. He's constant. I don't rate the guy. I don't think he's Celtic standard, if I'm being honest. Kuhn, thought he done an alright game. Done what he had to do. But like you said, it was for resting the decent players for the big games.
Well, I mean, if we look through it, I mean, we'll just scan through, won't we, some of the key points. That was a big thing for me. Like, I know you can't really judge players coming necessarily in out of the cold, and given a one-game type of situation, it's hard, isn't it? Particularly at the end of the season when all's said and done, and there's literally nothing to play for.
Yeah.
Although, when you look across the board to the guys that did get brought on and did get opportunities, is it simply down to ability, or is it down to desire, or something else? Because let's look at Ralston. I thought Ralston was fantastic in that game.
Mm-hmm.
He was continually doing what he has to do, giving his all, hard in the tackle, decent delivery into the box. He was a guy that went, you know what? Johnson is the first choice at the moment, but every time I come in, I'm going to show something. I'm going to try and be consistent. And why not? Maybe even put myself, if he still is, maybe not 100%, put myself in the picture for a starting.
100%.
But you compare him to the other guys, not so much.
The other guys didn't seem to do that, and that's what I thought about the game when you looked at it, and I thought, you know what, maybe these guys have got a chance to put themselves in the window. Cup finals coming up. Brendan might turn around and say, you know what, Scales hasn't been doing the best. Narotsky's had a cracking game there. We're going to put him in. Like you say, Johnson carrying an injury. Ralston he was brilliant, and he just bombs up and down that wing. We used to slag him, say he's like a brickie. He'd be a brickie if he wasn't a footballer. Just because the way he runs, the way he looks, he's just a big unit of a boy, but he can tackle. And that's more than what can be said sometimes for Alistair Johnson. When he gets caught out of position and he's tracking back, you're kind of weary if he's going to put in a challenge. Where Alston, I don't think he's got that. I think he's got a cracking delivery as well. So,
arguably, yeah, that's certainly something we touched on with Johnson, that in terms he's always been slightly better.
Fatter,
he's maybe a wee bit fatter. His all-round game's probably a bit better, but one thing about the bricky, if you want to call him that, he'd run through a brick wall for you. That's the difference. And something that we did say that Johnson had sort of looked as if he'd improved on was his delivery. But even then, that started to fall away a wee bit. And I thought that Ralston he's continually putting good balls to the box, and you saw that all the way through that game. But the big ones for me were the centre pairing. Now, I know they're not necessarily two guys that have played together that often, if at all, but they didn't fill you with confidence that with that wee snapshot to them. We've went round the houses, haven't we, with regards to Welsh? We've went round the houses with regards to Narotsky. Neither of them covered themselves in glory, and let's just dive straight in. The penalty incident with Welsh. Firstly, for you, is it a penalty? And secondly, whether you think it is or isn't, what about the state of the defending? Let's get real here.
It was hideous. I think it's a penalty. I think Stephen knows that as well. As soon as he brings the guy down, he just kind of looks up at the ref as if, oh, I'm guilty. And he's kind of, his face says it all, really. The ref, they didn't have to go to VAR. He just had to look at Stephen's face to know it was a penalty. He's made contact. He's got caught, and he knew that. If he doesn't bring a boy down, it is probably a goal. So he's lucky enough to stay in the park, I'm being honest.
I think they've kind of done away though, haven't they, with the sort of
denial of
cards penalty thing. So unless it's completely blatant, I don't think he's necessarily stick on denying a goal scoring opportunity. The guy certainly gets through and into the box,
and he's grabbed him.
So at best, what happens to him there as well. But I didn't think once again it was something that we've troubled. It's another big ball up and over the top, and the central line is a bit too high and it falls in behind. It's a bit sort of careless, and he's a bit sort of callous, isn't he, when he comes in at the back. And in the grand scale of the game, it didn't make any differences, but it just shows, and you can understand why the question marks will continually come over guys like Welsh. Again, let's not forget, it's one game. We're not sitting here slaughtering the poor guy, but it's a real mixed bag, isn't it? You see him coming in. Sometimes we see him in the games throughout the season there, where he had a wee outings in Europe, looked fantastic.
I looked
Outings against
brilliant.
Rangers, looked
Yeah.
solid. But then that sort of wee notion to just turn off and find yourself in no man's land, it's something that's constantly riddled his game, isn't it? And it's never seemed to really improve.
Like that, maybe is what you've been saying at the start as well, and it's because it's a game to nothing. I mean, they know they don't have to be on their best. It's just like go out and having a run out, essentially. He's maybe not looking at it as a chance to get into the cup final, because obviously Carter, Vickers and Scales are pretty fit. So he's just like, do you know what, this is just a run out. It's the inevitable run out before I get my trophy. So he's just going to, nah.
I mean, what about the guy beside him then? I mean, with regards to Nawrocki, he has one that, we'll touch on at the end when we look at, obviously, looking forward at the squad and how that might pan itself out. But Nawrocki's a guy that's came in, certainly with a bit of experience, maybe not a massive amount of professional games under his belt for his age, but certainly a guy that came in with a relatively decent level of expectancy over. We were kind of hoping that he would be the sort of heir to the throne of Starfelt and beside Carter Vickers, and it's not really quite panned out for him, is it? I mean, in that game, again, some of the things that we've seen through him has been a decent range of passing, relatively decent positional awareness, not particularly strong or great in the tackle, but yet again, a guy that's just not really covered himself in glory, is it?
Aye, he's a big lad as well, and he doesn't really win a lot in the air either. He seems to get nudged off the ball a bit too easy. He's good at passing, and I think obviously in the Brendan team that's what we're wanting. We're wanting players that can play out for the back, even though I hate it. Yes, he's got the bodies there.
That's how you're going to die on it.
Aye, I really do, mate. I hate it. But if that's the way we're going to be playing, then we need guys obviously like him. And going forward, I would like to see a place for him. I really would. I'd like to see him come onto a game, and hopefully over the summer and the pre-season we can start to see him.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. We've touched on the Welsh giving away the penalty, but it was actually 7 minutes in that the party nearly gets spoiled. It was a double for the boy at Hara, who this season's had quite a good record in these sort of games. He does seem to enjoy it, but the first goal is scrappy to say the least. That we've bloody well covered the nonsense that was the defensive error from Welsh in particular, just because we were talking about and we went out of sync with it. But with the first goal, again, just a wee ball in the box. Everybody's sort of looking at each other, and it drops down. The boy just sweeps it away. I mean, again, is that just inexperience of a pairing that's been chucked together for one-off game?
It's got to be. You got to put it down to something like that. I think Callum kind of heads it out, doesn't he? He's the one that eventually heads
it's kind of a wee
bit sort
of
guy.
half-baked,
but your defenders should be dealing with that ball. They really should. I think if it's a different defensive pairing of Vickers and Scales, that's getting headed away or put out for a corner or something.
Some things just never change, do they, though?
Inexperience, I know, that's it.
Some things this will never change for us, no matter what the pairing is this season. Balls in the box, secondary balls, snapshots. Help me! Even Big Joe in his final game still didn't have it within him to jump out and go for that cross.
I know.
See, there we go. There's more of what we see as well. It's we're sitting there talking about it. Scales and Rocky. It's hard to tell what we're going to get into the next season, but the game was what it was. But it wasn't. We found ourselves behind, and then we got ourselves back in the game. And of course, it was the man who, if votes weren't cast maybe 8 weeks ago, got to be saying, and either clean sweep, I would have imagined, because O'Reilly pops up with another goal.
Aye.
It's crazy, isn't it? He's back to just scoring. The time when we come alive is the time when he's coming alive.
Matt O'Reilly's been unreal, hasn't he? The last 8 games or something, he's just been unplayable. We spoke about the time after the transfer window when we knocked back Atletico. He seemed to be a bit off. And you can imagine if you're a young player like him and you had the chance to go to a big club like that as well, and do you know what I mean? I think he maybe had his heart set on the move, and a few weeks after, maybe a month or so after, we did see a dip in his form, but by God, he's come back onto a game, and he's just turned it on at the right time, and he's unplayable. The young lad's just outstanding. He's going to be a massive loss.
We'll see with regards to O'Reilly. during it. Let's hope he's not going to be a loss, but I think any of the sort of sensible fans would imagine that's going to be the case. Just coming back to that dip, is it a genuine 100% real quality dip in play, or do you think it was just that he started so highly on fire and he was doing everything was going instrumental through him? Because let's not forget, even in that wee bad spell of form, he was still pitching in with assists here and there. Do you think it was just a case that because he was so top of his game, he was playing on a completely different level for everybody in that early stages of the season, that when it just kind of coincided with us dropping points, that perhaps we judged them by a different level? So, if he was maybe a 7 or an 8 out of 10, no, it was a 5 because we just became so acquainted to
you're used to him getting an assist or a goal, and when he doesn't get it, you kind of put him down. Possibly because there's just been a little dip in form, but now you've had no less than a 9 out of him the last 5 games, and he's been outstanding. I seen a thing earlier, I don't know how much there was in it, but apparently Brighton are in for him, and there was talk of absolutely ridiculous numbers.
I've seen this. Was this? I don't know where this came from.
50 mil or something. I was like, that's absolute garbage. Like when we spoke about it, I said I'd take 30 million. I think that'd be an absolute banging result for Celtic. So yeah, I mean, if teams like Brighton and Atletico and I think Inter and everybody else were still interested, and that's a decent bidding, Morty, to get started.
Absolutely. That's the thing as well. I don't know if it's going to be coming around, but if he keeps on getting international caps as well, and he's scooped up an absolute, pretty much all the awards at Celtic on a personal level.
Anything that was worth winning, he won it.
And if you then look at the goal scoring, the assisting this season, and if he can, I know that people, generally speaking, they don't really care for what happens in Scotland, but these are just facts. You've just got to have them sitting there, and if we come away with a League and Cup double at the end of it, you add that all in the mix, and then again, I know it's one game, but a player of the match in the Champions League as well. Just wee things that just polish up the performance a wee bit to say, look, this is what I've got there. But just to think, if we could get, say, 25 million or maybe more for a guy who, 2.5 seasons ago was unemployed after being let go, that's phenomenal, isn't it?
It's mental. It's absolute madness, and it's what Celtic do. We bring players in, we build them up, and we make a massive profit on them, and it's a good way of doing it, to be fair.
He got himself back in the score sheet. He was good, he was positive, and it was good to see. But another one, Kyogo came in. We changed over from, obviously, Idah just putting in a complete striker's masterclass in the midweek game against Kelly. We went with Kyogo, again, surmised at the start. I just thought that was less to do with we're resting Idah and more to do with, right, give him
another chance,
another run out, because I reckon, he's going to be straight in against Rangers. Undoubtedly, there's absolutely no way that he doesn't start. So for me, that was about getting his legs up to speed, getting him some game sharpness, and getting a goal, getting himself back in the score sheet. And again, classic goal, very similar to what we saw midweek against Kelly. It was back to that proper width, sharp ball across, and it was a great instinctive finish. He just runs in, goes in, side foots it past the goalie. Happy days.
The pass for Hatate was outstanding. I'm probably Rio's biggest fan. Sorry, I just tried to read that there.
No, I'm going to bring this in, so that'll be the next point. It's a good one.
Yeah, I thought Hatate was outstanding. I really did. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. His ball into the box was frightening. All Kyogo had to do was stick his leg out. But yeah, that's an absolute cracking point.
We'll see on that. That's something I want to ask you, because Brendan Rodgers, as we know, when he first came in, Hatate, all right, he had injury problems, but he was in and out, and a couple of times Rodgers was asked about Hatate, and I think in enough words, he basically says he needs to improve his fitness, he needs to up his game, and even more recently, when talking about him, he says that, in his opinion, he loses the ball a bit too much for his liking. So there's undoubtedly that when he's in there, he's when he's on fire, he's one of our best assets in that midfield, and a lot can go through him. But I do agree that as well. He does lose the ball quite a lot, and you can understand why, because he's more inclined to play a risky pass, high risk for more reward, rather than playing it safe, which is obviously what you want to see. But if we look towards particularly the Champions League format with the 8 games now and things, just generally speaking, it's something that he needs to tighten up his game. Would that be a concern to you when we're talking about maybe going to lose O'Reilly, that if a bid came in for Hatate, that Rodgers might even consider selling him because he thinks he needs more of him?
Possibly. I just think every time he's in, we move the ball faster. Everything just seems to go through him. Always cut back to that game when he come back, the Levy game. That was outstanding. Every single pass was phenomenal. Everything came through him. And I think he's just, like they said there, he's got an eye for the pass. He will try the risky pass. And do you know what? You're not going to get it every time. If you want a player that's just going to keep possession, and yeah, Brendan, we do play a lot of possession football, but I'd like to see that riskiness a lot of the time as well. I think you need it. I just think Hatate going forward, I would play him in the forward position and stick somebody like Iwata in there to cover. Have Iwata and McGregor in there to tighten things up a wee bit, and have obviously Hatate in a forward role. So
the thing is when we look into the summer and beyond, we don't need to go over it again. We know the riches that are guaranteed to come our way. If we take out any would-be potential player sales, or maybe a sell on from the likes of Frimpong, who looks like the most likely candidate, Celtic, by the time merchandising, season tickets, Champions League packages, shirts, all that kind of stuff, they're going to be swimming around about that sort of 115, 120 million zone. And then you talk about potential sales and add-ons and getting rid of guys. Now, obviously, we've been asked with regards to guys like O'Reilly, he says, we're not necessarily in a position where we want to sell, but understand how things work around here. And I think as well, we've had 2 years out Hatate. I always like to think that as much as we want to keep guys on, we want to build and we want to, retain your best players. Of course you do. For me, there's always a shelf life of between 2 years to 3 years on any particularly outstanding player at Celtic. And I don't think that's going to be any exception here. And it's less so, obviously, with Tierney went, but that would great service out of him. Whereas I don't think it necessarily applies more to our defensively minded players. It's always attacking players that we look to get people want to come in for. So I just think that realistically, as much as we want to try and keep these two guys here, do you think in their heads, particularly O'Reilly, that there's a lifespan on it and he's probably expecting to move on when the time comes?
Yeah, I think Matt's head was already turned when Atletico Madrid were sniffing last year. I think he wanted to go. So, yeah, these guys, they come here, we're essentially a stepping stone towards the kind of the greater leagues, essentially. And these guys want to move on. They want to play for the biggest teams in the world. I know we're a Celtic podcast. Celtic are the biggest team in the world. I don't know what they're talking about. But, yeah, they want to play in these top 5 leagues in the world. And if somebody like that comes in for them, then we can't really say no. If the player wants to go and the money's there, then it's curtains, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. We can only sit in here and speculate. We don't want to down the mood because it was a party. It was a party mood. But it's just these things were sort of addressed. As you'd imagine, they're sitting there chatting to folk and sort of moving on. And it's just natural that we'd expect that to be the case. We've still got at least minimum one more game, big performance out of these guys. And, squad moving ons and getting in, that's for the summer, isn't it? That's a couple of weeks down the line of that. But this is the thing. There we go. He's top of his game at this moment, and we need to reinvest. The thing is that is the key point. See, as long as we, in my opinion, this is just broadly speaking, no one in the Celtic team is irreplaceable. Now, I know that sounds completely mad to say because of how vital these players have proven it, but no one is irreplaceable as long as you're willing to suitably invest. That's the bit that folk worry about. That's the bit that folk will worry about. But as we've stated, Celtic are looking to be in a completely different stratosphere financially. And I don't know what it is. And we hope, and we do this year and year again, hopefully it's not going to be the same story panning out. But I don't know what it is. But for me, the manager has seemed a lot more positive moving forward.
Yeah.
A lot more. Anytime there's been chat around squad building and moving on and looking towards, next season, he's been certainly more positive. He's certainly giving you the sort of image that he's all 100% here. He's all in. He's going to be making it happen. And I would like to think that that's because there's been certain conversations had or assurances there with him. But we need to look at getting guys in the door. And certainly one of the other guys that's going to be the big deal is going to be the number one. Because it was all Joe Hart's day, wasn't it? He wouldn't have been happy to concede to, but it was a win nonetheless.
Got the result, that's it. With regards to Brendan, I've seen some of his interviews when he's been asked about bringing players in and stuff, and yeah, he seemed positive. He seemed like he's got the backing. Before, when we'd seen interviews, obviously before he went down south, you could see there was a negativity in there. There was a bit of doubt about it all. This year, they've got to invest. I feel like with Brendan coming back, this must have been promised. It must be saying, right, listen, you've got this team just now. Carry on with this. Get yourselves through the league and the cup. Get us into Europe next year. And then whatever we make, we invest. And that's me being obviously very, very hopeful. But I can see positive signs there. With regards to replacing Big Joe Hart, the guy's been an absolute legend for us. He's been brilliant. I wouldn't class him as a Celtic legend. Obviously, that's reserved for a very few folk.
They jump in and push back. So, no, the question will be asked. People will be thinking that. Is this recency bias? Do you think over the piece Joe Hart has been what we sent him off as?
I think he come here on the back of a very poor spell at Tottenham. Obviously, he was told by Conte that he would never ever play there and stuff like that. He was let go by Burnley, I think it was, and like it was on his down the route, wasn't he? He was out there. He was at Tottenham, and obviously Conte had said, "Listen, you'll never play for this team. You're not good enough." And then that's when Celtic brought him up here. And I said before, I was at that game when he played his debut, and we'd been used to, as you called him, Barney the dinosaur, Vasilius Barkin, Barkas. He was rank, so we were used to him. And then 5 minutes into that game, there was a shot for the 6-yard box, and Joe Hart ripped out the top corner, and the roar was just unreal. It was frightening. And we've always had a good stopper. We've always had somebody in there. Like Fraser Forster was a brilliant servant. Would I like to see him back? No, I wouldn't. I would like a goalkeeper that's going to command his 6-yard line. I would like somebody that's going to come out and catch the ball. Boric again. I'd love somebody like Boric. Somebody that gets the club. Somebody that knows what it's about. That's going to be a fan hero again.
As Tartan says, he's mentioned Kelleher. Now, Kelleher will be an interesting one because
last year, wasn't he? As well.
Scott comes into Liverpool. They've still got Alisson. I'm not really sure who their other optional keeper there is. He got some game time in the Premier League, that would obviously maybe shift the goalposts on his price point, I'd imagine. A real mixed bag, hard to tell. In the games that I did see of him playing at Liverpool, did I think he looked like he was worth 7 million? Absolutely not, would have been my take on it. I know he's a well-experienced goalkeeper, and goalkeepers are full of the madness, but I just haven't seen enough of him to sort of pin that I would say 7 million for Kelleher would be a great shout. So he's certainly one that's in the mix, as long as there's a Liverpool connection there. That's obviously going to come round with Rodgers, and we'll see what's going to happen. So I don't know how. There we go. Apparently now they're looking for 20 million. It's funny how things can work. Let's get real here. Celtic are never spending. I don't even think Celtic are spending over 7 for a goalkeeper. I think maxed out maybe 7. That's what we've got the money to do it. There's no reason why we couldn't do it. But I just think that's roughly where we're going to be. So then the other question was, there was supposedly the boy from Turkey. His name was bandied about. And again, I don't know enough about him, but a goalkeeper is undoubtedly going to be something that we're going to be looking at. There was obviously talk as well. Is it the boy Kelly?
Motherwell, was it?
In Motherwell. Now, if he comes in for me, that's not I wouldn't be worried about that. I wouldn't be
He's a
worried
top
per
choice.
se of saying he's going to be a first choice. He's going to be second, maybe third choice down the pecking order. And I just think that with the goalkeeping situation, if it was me personally speaking, I would just gut it all and get rid of him. I would upgrade the young chap for the B team, and I'd have him sitting as my third choice, and then I'd get one good goalkeeper, and then I'd have a decent backup. Because let's face it, no matter what you think of Siegrist is just, he's gone. He's out of there.
Nah.
Right? He's a laughing stock. And as for Bain, don't get me started on the Bainiac. I've got that. Let me just tell you a wee story, right? Close your eyes and just imagine this. This is how I imagine a day in the life of Scott Bain. He wakes up. He opens his big curtains. He sinks his feet onto a massively thick padded carpet. He walks into his big walk-in double length bathroom with big 2 mirrors and 2 sinks. He looks in the mirror and he bursts out laughing. He gets himself ready. He puts on the training kit. He walks down whistling about himself, and he goes into his big extortionate kitchen and he gets an expensive bean to cup coffee. He gets outside, he flicks up the garage and he gets into Q7. He adjusts the rear view mirror. He bursts out laughing. He drives up into Celtic Park at Lennoxtown and he bursts out laughing. And then see when he parks his motor, instead of getting his boots out the back, he gets out his pool cue and his darts and goes inside laughing because he's got away with it. He's got away. Honestly, what is the point of this guy? What is the point? I would get them all in the bin. But I digress with some silly story time there for a laugh. But I think for me, and I don't know, what do you guys and girls and everybody else think about the situation with the goalkeeper? It keeps coming up, the Turkish guy. Yep, I think we could probably get him around about that sort of value because of where he's playing and maybe eyes aren't on him. That's the kind of guys we're doing. But I've always been a big fan of, we touched on Hart, we get 3 years out of him. I've always said that for Celtic, if it was my choice, I would go and find a guy who's a club of note, that's well seasoned, like Joe Hart, or like even, dare I say it, Butland. Somebody that's well seasoned, that's got plenty of experience and needs an opportunity. Treat your goalkeeper as a running bill. I've said for time and time again, for me, the squad doesn't always need to be about buying to make maximum sell on. There's a room in the squad and the first team for guys that they'll be there for whatever period of time, and that's all you'll get out of them. You know, if you look at, you think Sinclair, for example, leaves with no value, but the value is paid for by what he does when he's there. And I think that's what Celtic should be doing. They should be looking at goalkeepers, maybe down south, maybe somewhere in Europe or whatever, that are maybe second choice or whatever, but still very good, well-experienced seasoned goalkeepers, bringing them in with the view just getting maybe 2 to 3 seasons on it, and then rinse and repeat.
I'd say Angus Gunn. Obviously, he's done really well for Scotland. I don't know what kind of price Norwich would be asking for him. But yeah, I'd like to see somebody like him in there. He'd be a cracking keeper.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's the goalkeeper, unfortunately, has always been a tricky situation. And if we're being completely honest, other than Kasper Schmeichel, which Rodgers fell on, he was very fortunate with that goalkeeping situation, he's not been great at identifying goalies, has he? Even Liverpool, it was Mingele. We had we've seen when he tried to bring in De Vries, that didn't work out. He had to revert back to the guy they didn't want.
Everybody's saying there, David De Gea on a free, if we could pay half his wages, that'd be nice. Modric, Kroos, now we're talking. That's it, get them in, boys, get them in.
Here's the thing, see, David De Gea, I've seen that name coming around, right? I think last time he was on some madness, wasn't it? Like 300k a week. Now, listen, he's been out of job, that's not going to be happening. But is there room for guys like that to at least be asked the question, innit?
Shy boys don't get sweeties, Steve-o. Let's ask him. Let's say, David, if you're watching, mate, get your ass up the road.
Or Angus Gunn, are you having that? You've mentioned that. Are you having that?
Mate, I'd take Angus in a heartbeat. I think he's a cracking goalkeeper, commands the box. I think at a team like Celtic, he would just progress on. He would become outstanding, both for Scotland and for Celtic. I think he'd be a cracking option for us.
Yeah.
I really do.
Do you know what? This is the thing. We'll need to have a look at it. I'm all for the likes of the Turkish international. Of course, where that's kind of the bracket that we want to be fitting in. We want to be looking at levelling up. I suppose the only, and we've said this time again, there's no guarantee with a fee equaling a good player. We use Barkas as the example. when we got Barkas and I saw him again on paper, means nothing. He ticked all the boxes. Young, plenty of experience, Champions League, Europa League, Greek international. She's like, tick, 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 tick. This guy's what we need. And he turned up, and it was a non-starter. It was an absolute non-goer with him.
I know.
But then he goes to Utrecht, and by all accounts, he's playing all right. So sometimes guys, it just doesn't work for them, innit?
Aye, well, that's it. So I'm just reading through some of the messages there. It just didn't work for the likes of him. And I've said that previously about the going out and spending 10 million on a player doesn't mean you're going to get an absolute nailer. We've bought guys like Raphael Scheid and all these other numpties for large fees, and they've come in the door and been garbage. And yet we've got guys like Henrik, we've got Kyogo, Hatate, all of these guys in for next to nothing. And obviously they've been outstanding for us. So yeah, for me it's about getting the guys in the door that have got the right eye for this, and getting in people that know what it means as well. To play for a club like Celtic, we spoke as well about obviously guys like Mikey Johnson and stuff possibly coming back. Now my opinion on Mikey Johnson is that Celtic is too big a club for him. I've said it previously. I think by going down south, he's been given a free run. He's been at West Brom and he's been absolutely outstanding. And they're calling for him. I don't know. Did they get their player of the year? I think he was up for it.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't know what's happened there, but I personally wouldn't welcome Mikey back to the club. I think he's had his 2 chances and that's it for me.
Yeah.
I know Brendan spoke and he was like, yeah, we've got guys like Mikey Johnson coming back, and he seemed delighted with us. No.
Well, the thing is, there's plenty of discussions across. Undoubtedly, the most glaring ones we just said there was Joe Hart. Joe Hart is going to be huge to try and replace. Whether you thought he was fantastic or otherwise, he's going to be big gloves, big boots, and a big personality to fill. And I think that when we saw the tifo going up, it was a great effort from the Green Brigade. I think it put another tifo of a goalkeeper to shame, didn't it? We see, make it compare and contrast. But it really caught him. Big Joe, what a guy. You know, I've been watching the sort of interviews and the wee snippets and the run up to his sort of final game at Celtic Park. And the one thing that I'd say about him, he's a consummate professional, and I think he's won over a lot of folk, hasn't he? If not necessarily through performances, because we know that's really mixed some people, but in terms of somebody that values the club, values the fans, is bought into it, he's quite a deep guy, and he's quite a big emotional guy, and you know, not scared of tearing up, not scared of getting emotional. And you saw that whenever that the fans were singing Super Joe Hart and the tifo went up. I think it took him back a wee bit, and it's certainly what a send off for him anyway that day.
Aye, it was class, and do you know what? It was deserved. Like you say, he's been at the club and he's a big personality. Guys like him and Callum McGregor in that dressing room, that's the guys that you need. Guys that have been there and they've won things. I mean, Joe, he's won a fucking Premier League and everything. Do you know what I mean? The guy's outstanding. I just think it was well deserved for me. And he's just a cracking. He's been a brilliant servant to the club. He's only been here a few years, but like you said, when he talks about it, he gets it. He understands. So I mean, he feels basically part of the Celtic family, and he said that, like, going forward, if Celtic need me for anything, I'll be back. I'll be here. Just let me know. And I mean, that's nice.
We're talking about trying to replace goalkeepers. Now, I know he's not necessarily got any skin in the game in terms of being an agent or any stuff like that. The way that he's spoken about Celtic in those post matches and those sort of pre-recorded interviews, and he said Celtic is an absolute club. I can't explain this to you. He says, I can't actually. It's just something that you need to experience. I can't say enough words to tell you what this is. And he was really, really genuine. Sometimes, you know, when folks speak, it sounds like lip service and it's all the cliches of the day. He actually couldn't even use the cliches because he didn't have the words to do it. Now, if we're talking about guys who are maybe sitting on the fence about coming to Celtic, looking at the Scottish League, that's a kind of a good reference point, is it not?
No,
that if you've got guys like Joe Hart, I'm not necessarily saying that he knows folk that are leading a club, but it would be interesting, wouldn't it? Particularly if it was a goalkeeper for down south, let's just say.
You look at younger guys, younger goalkeepers and younger players obviously coming through would have seen Joe playing at Man City. They would have seen him there. It was an outstanding servant for them as well. He was England international. It was, do you know what I mean? The guy's, he's a cracking goalkeeper at the end of the day. And I think he is very well respected throughout the footballing scene. So for younger guys, obviously looking at that and looking at him doing his interview and saying, oh, this club is outstanding, I've got no words and blah, blah. I think that would do us really, really well. I think it'd be cracking for us. I think as a kind of ambassador for the club, essentially, to bring players in, I think that would be a...
Yeah, I think that's something that we should be looking at. Obviously, I think the safe money would be on to some sort of return to Man City for him to do some sort of work down there. But what was interesting was when he was speaking about what his family are, where his family are, he made it pretty clear that they were very welcomed. They were very settled. And who knows, maybe that move back down to Manchester or thereabouts isn't necessarily on the card. And even if it's between two clubs, between Man City and between Celtic, as you say, there's some sort of ambassadorial role. I think that he's certainly a guy that I would like to have having some form of influence around, whether it's just for comms or whatever, talking about the club. You know, it's something that we should probably look at. And that's not revisionism because he, you know, it's his last game and all that sentimental stuff. I just genuinely feel that he's got a wealth of experience. He doesn't want to go into a coaching capacity. So that opens it up. That makes it easier to get these guys still sort of on your side or on your books to sort of build your brand, build your connections.
Somebody was telling us as well, he's been recruited. I think,
and he's going to the punditry.
That's what I was just going to say. Somebody's recruited him, obviously, for the punditry in Germany. So, do you know what? That's brilliant. It'll be another good chance for him to possibly go into that side if he wants. I think he does. He speaks well. And I loved that. I loved seeing his face. His face on Saturday, mate. It was beautiful. It was cracking, and you could tell that he was properly cut up about it. It was stunned, and seeing Callum as well bring him over to lift the trophy, I thought was a cracking touch. Getting the big man up there to help him lift the cup, that was nice.
Aye. It was a perfect send off for him. What a day! So we got the result in the end, and it came finally just by a nice cross ball in, and there was a nice touch in for Palmer.
Aye.
Just to bring it back to the game and polish that one off. Palmer gets a goal. He's it's a good finish. He needs to take it well. In terms of looking towards the game against Rangers, has it changed anything for you? For me, Palmer scores a goal. Thank you very much, but I didn't see enough on it. I think at times for me, somebody said this, and I thought I quite like that. He says he reminds me very much of Chris Commons, where he seems like he plays for Palmer and Palmer only. The club are secondary.
Aye. Possibly, yeah. I just think he's very one-sided. I just think there's one part of his game and he just cuts back constant. You know what he's going to do. Do you know what? He's good at it. He's good when he cuts back and he beats defenders doing it. But you know it's coming. And if you're up against a decent enough defender, like he's going to be up on Saturday against them, we know who's going to be up against, the serial loser. But he won't start. He won't start against them because we've got the speedboat in there. To absolutely terrorise them. So yeah, for me, the team doesn't change. I could tell you right now, Big Joe, I'd like to see Ralston, possibly, other than Johnston. CCV, Scales, Taylor. Then you get Hatate, O'Reilly, McGregor, Idah, Kyogo, and Jamesy.
And Forrest, that's it.
Jamesy in there.
He saved them all up. See, just to come back to the Palmer, Tartan says, obviously, you see it there, Palmer is a myth. I asked you this question before, and just because he's on topic at the moment, listen, these are all things that will be reviewed in the fullness of time at the end of the season. And again, we're not here to be negative, but we're just talking about, we see with our eyes. It has been first season in the door, you could argue, settling and stuff. He started off quite bright, he faded away. I always described him and says I thought that he was one of the most flat-footed supposed wingers that I've ever seen. A real mixed bag. Do you think stat padding is a big part of where Palmer is? I mean, we talk about Tav, don't we? About if you take away his goals and you take away his assists, the body, the rest of his play isn't much. Do you feel there's any level of truth in that so far, what we've seen with Palmer, in terms of, yes, he has scored some important goals, he's scored some very good goals, and he's provided some assists. And I know it's like, wanting your cake and eating it at the same time. But you say, well, what would you want, Steve? Well, if you take that away, we might not want it. I get it. All I'm saying is see if he doesn't do an assist in a game, or he doesn't score a goal in a game, largely speaking, his game's pretty poor and forgettable, isn't it?
Well, he's a winger, mate. Your wingers are there to assist goals. At the end of the day, Jamesy Forrest, look what we've got off of Jamesy. The last wee while, and everybody thought James was on the road out. We thought he wouldn't wear a Celtic top again. We thought he was just going to sit there and warm the bench. James has come in and been absolutely outstanding. He knows the club. He knows what happens with it. He knows what it means. Lewis Palmer, for me, he doesn't quite get it yet. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know whether he's he's not consistent enough. You're right. His game's too one-sided. I don't know what else you can say. Like, his job is to get assists and to power down that side and to make the right back essentially scared of him coming at him. There's no right back in the Scottish Premier League that's scared of Lewis Palmer, I'll tell you that right now. No. If you put Idah on them, they're going to be scared. Let's face it.
No, that's the thing. And if you think it, they'll mention Tartan again, mentions, is he any better than Haksabanovic? Well, for me, I don't think so. I think he's very much almost an identical player. It's like cut and paste. They're pretty much the exact same guy. Haksabanovic, for me, again, I did use that comparison for him when he was at Celtic, but I say he reminds me of Chris Commons. Both of them look. I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying they're overweight. That's not what I am saying. But they both look like slightly slow, heavier guys, a bit more physical. Certainly Haksabanovic, and I just think pretty flat-footed. They've got a one plan. The only one thing I would say about Haksabanovic is he at least tries to take guys on. He does try to go past them. Palmer, not necessarily. When he first started, he looked like he wanted to do that. He looked like he wanted to get more further forward, but then he started, as you say, regressed into this kind of picking up the ball and either passing and moving or cutting inside. So I think there's not too much between Haksabanovic and Palmer. I'm of the understanding that there's interest in Haksabanovic, fees around 2 to 2.5 million, so he will go. I don't expect him to be around, and you can't necessarily say that you'd expect Palmer to go, would you? Because he's just in the door.
Yeah, I love that there. If Maida's a speedboat, Palmer's a tugboat, that's class. But like I've said before, Dyson's a speedboat with no steering wheel. We don't know what we're going to. We don't know where we're going, but it just goes. Yeah, we'll take it.
We certainly, between the comments ourselves, he's split an opinion. As I said, it's just for conversation's sake. We've got a whole pre-season, and I'm sure the manager will take a look at all these guys. But as we look towards the weekend, I don't imagine Palmer's going to feature much other than coming on at the tail end of the match, eh?
Yeah, just come on to mop things up, see the game out, that's it.
Well, that was it. We said we got the title, we got the parties, it was all happening. There was nothing much negative. It was quite funny when we watched the title lift. It's just one I want to mention, obviously, because we're talking about guys who they're going to be around, guys if they're going to have a future, they're going to whatever. And it was quite funny, and I can understand maybe why it happened, but there was quite a lot of guys that were, how would we say it, a wee bit apprehensive to go and lift that trophy, were they not?
Yeah, I seen that, and I seen the thing as well about we Odin Thiago home. And one of the news articles tried to make a massive deal out of this. Do you know what? The wee guy felt like he didn't deserve it. He felt like he's not put in enough. Do you know what? He's not played so many games for us. He's had a couple of Snyders in Europe and whatever else. But he's part of that team. He's part of the squad. He's there at training every day. He deserved to go up and get his medal and lift the trophy as far as I'm concerned. I'd like to see a lot more from him. And there's a few of the other players. I think was one of the ones as well. Was mentioned he was told to go up and get it. You'd say that he was a myth as well, and he is. The guy just kind of went totally off the boil, but he scored really important goals for us. And if we take his goals away, then we might not have been in the situation that we were in. So again, deserved to go up there and take his
Yeah.
his medal and his trophy. So I just feel like it's players' personal opinion. I don't think there was anything.
No. Well, if you look
Any
at guys like Seacrest and Bain, they were born happy to get their hands on the trophy and take photos, weren't they?
I know he'll be standing in his mirror tomorrow morning.
His medal on,
Check
laughing.
me out.
He's laughing and shining up and adding to his collection. It's brilliant, isn't it? He's like the Carson of Celtic, just gets
I love it.
medal after medal for doing nothing. Brilliant.
Eh?
But just to touch on a couple of the guys there, because obviously the summer's coming up, they're not anywhere near a bench for that match day. We're certainly going to be in the match day squad against Rangers at the weekend. But does, for you, the future hold for guys like O and Thiago Holm, and then you've got other guys, you've got like Kwon, Kobayashi, mate, the list is endless.
Aye.
Do you think the fact that O fell completely out the picture suggests that he's one that we're probably trying to move on, or at best, do you think we could get a loan out to him, similar like we've done with Kwon, maybe?
Yeah, I'd like to see him go out on loan. Kwon, apparently St.Mirren were very interested to buy him. They thought he was outstanding, which I thought was right. Yeah, just give him them, take him off the wage bill. Here you go. I'd like to see a lot of the players go out on loan. If they're not going to be any part of the squad, then get them out on loan. They might turn out to be the next Mikey Johnson. They might be coming back next season playing absolute worldies. Yeah, but I don't know what else you can do with them. They're sitting there, they're taking a wage, and like you say, the list's endless. You probably forget half of them that are there because they've not played any part at all. So
there's certain guys that might have a value, and I think if we look at the squad and we look at building, obviously we saw Welsh going off. That guy just doesn't have much luck, whatever, does he? That's him, looks like another possible dislocated shoulder. I mean, I can sympathise. I'm still in great agony with my shoulder injury, and that's just a tendon injury, so I don't know how it feels to have an actual proper dislocation, but he's just a guy that doesn't seem to have much luck or much joy. Again, I think for me, if with the guys like Welsh, if there's going to be a question asked, it was like Udinese, I think it was a couple of French teams looking at him, he's a guy that I would just cut my losses on. I would certainly be happy to let him go. There's question marks over, again, guys lifting the trophy. Lagerbielke coming back with a full head of hair, such as how long he's been out. There's got to be some sort of cash value in him, because I've been looking at him. I think, see you later with him. The list does go on, but there's certainly, I would say, out of the guys on the periphery, Haksabanovic and Cody and stuff, there's probably, as an up, maybe about easily 4 guys, maybe 5 at a total push. There's probably some value in, and I guess you've maybe just got to look and kind of cut your losses moving forward. Aye,
of course you have. Get rid. People, boys commented there as well, saying about also 5 right wingers: Vata, Tilio, Yang, Forrest and Kuhn. Rocco, didn't really see much for him. Tilio, apparently he's playing outstanding out there, isn't he? Yang, again, he's been hot and cold. Seen a couple of cracking games from him. Then seen games where, I think it was the Hearts game, he get caught offside about 5 times in the first half. I just that for me done it. I would just, I'd like to see the team slim down a bit and some quality brought in, and that's it. But yeah, let's march on to Hampden.
Yeah, that's it. Well, me Meg says hose push. I think she means O. But
Aye.
from O to ho and ho. What about Santa? What about a full circle, big Santa coming out with a trophy?
That was it. It
was top part, wasn't it? Top part.
Honestly, it was an absolute stitches watching it. I thought that's absolute class with Celtic. I like the way he blessed himself with the trophy as well as he put it down. Sitting there telling my wee boy that Santa's a Tim. I was like, look at this. That's brilliant.
Santa might be banned elsewhere, I think.
Aye, that's it. There'll be no Christmas presents at Ibrox, that's it. He's done.
Well, it was. I think that's the kind of sad thing about Scottish football, isn't it? Because you just know that sort of wee quip that he done there is going to upset people. Aye. And unfortunately, that's always what it falls back to, isn't it? But that's, see if you want to feel that way and be that pen of petty about something. Cool. No
I think
worries.
we used to joke about it when obviously like Celtic would have a sponsor like Magners, and then they're going, nah, that's it, I'm no drinking Magners again, and whatever. And we used to go, right, well, I hope our next sponsor's Oxygen, get it run you. You know what I mean? That's
Dearie me.
do you know what I mean? That's just the wee kind of jokes that we used to put in
Oh,
there. But
God.
aye, you can go down any road with that at all. But like Santa bringing a trophy out was absolutely outstanding.
It
I
was
thought
it was top banner. I think
aye,
that was
it
it.
was
Even
absolutely brilliant.
everybody was laughing, and do you know what? It was actually quite nice because nobody should boo Santa, but they did say somebody did say, and I thought that was that was pretty funny.
Aye.
He should have came out. It was during May, so it would have been a lot funnier if he came out in a Hawaiian shirt or something. Like
I
Santa's on his
know,
holiday and he's
I know,
bottom
that's
it.
it. But I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And do you know what? Aye, the fans took it really well, and it was a surprise. It was good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, nah, it set us up for getting into the weekend, and that's the thing. We need to now shift the focus and look towards the weekend. Another wee side note, because in case you didn't forget about it or you did forget about it, that 8 point gap was restored, which was quite poetic, was it not? Because we've spoke all season about narratives. We've spoke about how it would finish, and if you remember, we had the Beale narrative last season where I reduced the points gap to when I came in. So theoretically, we would have won the league if I was in charge. We've now got a manager that came in and found it was around about 7, and it actually got more of a gap. So what does that say for him then? And what does that say for them?
They get the moral victory though, didn't they? They had that one, so we'll give them that. Aye, again, mate, it's just drivel for the other side of the city. We don't listen to them. We do our stuff. We play our game. And when the chips were down, we came good.
We've got and that's the thing. I mentioned it briefly on the wee pop-up show before the game. I think what's important is that we don't allow people's view or media or whoever to be misconstrue and warp the reality of what this season is. If you ask me to sum up the season as they did the night on Super Scoreboard, sum up Celtic's season in one word, for me it would be mentality, because we were cruising, we were well ahead. We then found ourselves falling completely behind, Rangers in the driving seat, and then we still picked ourselves up. We never faltered when we had to. We pushed through and we came out on top. Now the narrative can be spun any way it wants. I hear the chat about too much injuries. They had injuries throughout the course of the season. They had to play guys when they weren't 100% because they were patching up and it caught up with them. Complete and utter nonsense. If you look at our team, we had key injuries completely throughout the season, and we did falter and they got ahead. The difference is that we continued to go on, whereas they completely and utterly collapsed. Both teams had the leads. Both teams let them go. It's as simple as that. Do not let anything detract for this victory, this trophy, this title. It's one of the sweetest, one of the most hard-earned ones. And definitely, in my opinion, it speaks to the character of the players, but also the manager, to allow ourselves to kick on when we could have done what they did. We could have crumbled.
Could have imploded, yeah. And Brendan said it as well when you watch his interview. Obviously, they joked about him saying, you'd say to the fans you would see them back here in May. And he went, yeah, it's just as well, isn't it? And he kind of laughed about it and kind of shrugged it off. But do you know what it is? And when he came out and said before the split, this is where we come good. This is where we do what we do and things like that. And coming in, we've just been outstanding. We've just been, when it mattered, we got it done. We got over the line. We didn't just walk over the line. We sprinted, as Brendan said as well. And that's what happens when you've got a team full of winners.
No, that is the thing. That's just what I want, as I say, is to put the sort of the final bullet point on to make sure that folk never forget. This was a real hard fought victory this year, and I'm not going to have anybody try and detract for that. I'm not going to have other opposition fans, managers, whatever, try to tell us, because let's not forget, and I keep saying this, they were going to win the quadruple. It was happening. It was happening. And now it suits to revert back to type of a rebuild, not his team, yada, yada, yada. It is what it is. Come Saturday, 3 o'clock, there's a massive game there, and they're already getting in the excuses. They've got key injuries. I don't care. You can only beat what's put in front of you. But on that, we're talking there, team, exactly, pretty much as we says. That's
Other
how
than AG, I would have Ralston in there. Yeah.
that's how I expect us to go out, and that is an absolute solid team. Now they're more than likely potentially going to have to play a central pairing of the boy King, Ben Davies, for example. Bring that on, eh?
Aye. But Callum and Kyogo just run a riot in there like he has done previously. You know me, I'm always confident going into these games. I think it'll be another Hampden in the sun. I think it'll be absolute chaos in there. I think we'll go out on a high. They've got to be up for this. Let's face it. They've got to come out. They've got to go for it. They'll see a league double as a good result at the end of the day. Not a league double, sorry, a cup double. They would see that as a good end to a season. The deluded fans, we get 2 trophies, you get 1. Aye, okay, keep them. No fuss. But at the end of the day, mate, yes, of course we want to win the cup. Of course we do. It'd be nice to put them to the sword when we're doing it. And I'm quite confident that we will.
Well, that's it. We'll see how it's a strong finish to the season. And, it's been the best form that we've seen ourselves coming into it. Right at a key point, right when it matters. I mean, what you thinking yourself? If I was to put you on the spot right now, this early on, what are you thinking? Are you looking at a comfortable one? Are you looking at a victory against Rangers that we perhaps maybe thought that we should have had in the last game? A complete performance, the exclamation point on this season.
Aye.
And a stark reminder of where the two teams find themselves.
Aye, as John says, it's been a really strong finish to the season, best in a while. And yeah, it's going to be. I just feel like we're going to cause them absolute chaos. I feel like we've got the stronger team. We've got the confidence. We've just come off a win in the league. We're the ones going into this with everything. People say, they've got nothing to lose. They'll come in and do whatever. But do you know what? What have they got? I've said it before. Serial losers. They've got people who have won nothing. 1 trophy out of however many. No problem. For me, it's a confident win. I'd love to see Joe Hart keep a clean sheet. Don't think he will.
Would you like him to take a penalty if we got one?
I would. I really would, mate. I don't care. I really don't. See if it's nothing each and it's in 90th minute, let him take it. Give him that moment.
You're on the madness.
Go for it. Honestly, just get it done. Just let them run about and do what they've got to do. Who's in charge? Nick Walsh? Was it?
I think it's I think it's
It was Nick,
I think it's the heavy guns that have been rolled out. So, as again, we're not doing referees and officials can be a side note to proceedings. We do our job, we do our business, and I don't think it'll matter. Celtic will win in spite of who's in charge, rather than.
But they will get a penalty because.
Come on, you right? That's enough of that part. I'm having running this.
They'll have a penalty, guarantee it.
And a save for Joe Hart then.
Oh, it'd be fucking great, wouldn't it? It'd be beautiful. I'd love it. I'd love to see Joe Hart rip one out of top corner.
Well, it is what it is. We've got a whole week yet. This is it. The build-up starts. Every single day is going to be more and more and more intense. We build up, and we Celtic World Order will be here throughout the week, won't we, Paddy, to touch on it very... whatever happens, whatever comes out, the press conferences, the anticipation, and of course the pre-match. So we're going to cut off. We've been over an hour there. There's been a good few amount of you all joining in. The comments have been going well. We like to see that. We like the support. We like to see the community chatting away to each other. And we do apologise that it was a wee bit late in coming out. We didn't quite put in as good a shift as we should have done last week, unlike Celtic. The boys were firing all cylinders. Celtic World Order were maybe in a wee bit of cruise control and being a wee bit sort of lackadaisical, but it doesn't matter because we are here and we'll be back next week. Well, a couple of shows throughout the course of the week. And of course, Paddy and I will be back on Friday evening to do the big covering of the pre-match build up to that cup final. Hopefully by then we'll have a clearer picture of what we're likely to face and where we find ourselves. Hoping for a nice safe week, clear any injuries, Paddy, get ourselves ready to go and take care of this season.
Like we've said, we've looked at the team there, we've picked the team. That's pretty much the team. Brendan, if you're watching, you know what to do. These guys just need to have a nice, clean week, train hard, and go into the game against them.
Well, we shall catch you back throughout the course of the week. So says thanks again for taking the time to join us. If you're late to the party and you haven't done it, make sure you give us a wee subscribe, like it, share us, do all that kind of stuff, and it'll grow this building community that we've got here. It's absolutely cracking. Long may it continue. So we'll see you again. And until then, hail, hail. Take care of yourselves.
Hail, hail.
Bye-bye.